Hey everybody, it's another episode of Joe Knows, and on today's episode, I'm going to answer some of your common questions that I get about estate planning. Question number 1, what is the difference between a will and a trust? I get this question a lot because a lot of people always talk to me about a will specifically. Hey Joe, I need you to create a will for me. They don't really understand that a will is a document that's under the umbrella of estate planning. And so each document has a different purpose for having that document. So I'm going to explain to you guys what the difference between a will and a trust is. So a will is a document that allows for a couple of different things. One, naming guardians of your minor children. So let's say, God forbid, you pass away. Who's going to take care of your children after you are to pass if they are under 18 years old? That's one of the main benefits of having a will. Another benefit of having a will is being able to select who is going to be the executor of your estate, which I'll get to in a second, and how your estate is going to be dispersed. So what does that mean? That means who is going to get your assets, your house, your bank account, money, any other money that's part of your estate that if you didn't name a beneficiary on that account, it would go to, as part of your estate, to probate court, and it would get divided up based on how you selected it in your will. And another thing with the will, with selecting those people, that's good about a will is, God forbid, some of those people pass away before you, you can choose backup beneficiaries and how the money is split up after that situation has occurred. So you're not just picking people to get your assets, you're picking different scenarios out as just in case situations to make sure that the right people acquire your assets. And then, so getting back to who the executor is, that's the person that's going to make sure that everything is executed according to what your wishes were in the will. Now, there's a couple of issues with having a will only, and there's pros and cons to every document, right? So the pros of having a will is you get to name who gets your assets and who's going to take care of your children, God forbid you pass away. The cons of having a will is that your family will still need to go to probate court. And so probate court, they have to validate the will and make sure that your wishes are taken care of accordingly. So that process takes a long time. It could take a few months to over a year, depending on whether or not you have a simple estate, or if your family starts fighting over stuff, they can drag out the process. And you would be surprised what families fight over during probate court to drag out the process. And then now you're going to have to pay court costs, attorney's fees, and that can swallow up or drain all of your assets before your family even gets them, which is difficult to go through during that time of when they're supposed to be grieving your passing. And so to avoid having your family go to probate court, you can create a trust. So what is a trust? Think of a trust as a separate entity. So it could be like, you can think of it like a business, or like one of my friends always explains it as having a pot. And so you create this pot for your family, and whatever you put inside of that pot gets held for them. And you can take stuff out of the pot whenever you want to and put stuff back into the pot whenever you want to. But when you pass away, whatever is in that pot goes to your family and it's theirs. So they will just need to show the trust and administer the trust to be able to acquire those assets that you put into it. You can put a home into your trust. You can put your retirement accounts into your trust. You can put businesses into your trust. And so that way, all of your assets are automatically held in this pot and ready for your family. God forbid something happens to you. Your family does not have to go to probate court. Probate court is public, so people will know all of your information should your family go to probate court. A trust is private, so none of your assets will be known to the public in that situation. So that's another pro of having a trust. One of the cons of having a trust is that it costs more than a will. However, the difference in the cost is minimal compared to all of the pros that come along with the amount of money that you can save with having a trust in place. When you have a trust, you can have creditor, predator, and self-protection. So what does that mean? Let's say my kids are not good with money and they owe a lot of money to people. Well, with a trust, you can hold on to the money for them, and that way the creditors cannot reach over into the trust because it's not their money yet. So the creditor cannot reach over into your trust to get money that your kids owe them because it's not their money. So you're protecting your kids from creditors, or whatever the beneficiaries are. You can name other people as your beneficiaries, but whoever the beneficiary is, creditors cannot reach into your trust to get their money. Another one is predator protection. A lot of times family and friends, when they find out that somebody has acquired a large sum of money, they start trying to get in with that family member, right? So if they find out that you passed away and you left your 18-year-old $1 million, people are going to start coming out of the woodwork and asking for, hey, let me borrow some money, or hey, I have this great business idea, or help me buy a house, or whatever. And they take advantage of your kids. But in the same manner with having a trust and the creditor protection, you can prevent the children from being taken advantage of because they do not have access to the money. A trustee that you name as a manager is holding on to the money for them. And so the role of the trustee is to carry out your wishes in the trust, but they're also being a manager of the money, and they don't have to release it. So now that person, that family member that's trying to take advantage of your kids, they can't get that money. It's only available if the manager, the trustee, allows them to get that money. Okay? And then self-protection. You're going to give your kids money. Imagine what you would spend your money on as an 18-year-old. They do not know how to spend the money properly. Within 9 months, 70% of people will be done with whatever money that they've acquired, no matter what the amount of money is. So, for example, lottery winners, people that have an inheritance, they usually spend all of their money within 9 months. That is a short amount of time to spend all of your money. With having a trust, you can say, I don't want my kids to get their money until they turn 25 or 30, or they get this percentage at this age, or however you want to do it, you can set it up so that they don't waste all of their money. Another question that I get is who needs an estate plan? My 3 or 4 main rules of having an estate plan. First of all, I feel like everybody should have an estate plan. People think that they don't need it, but you really do need it. It's just, when is it worth it to have it set up? Because it's not free, but the benefits outweigh the costs. So these are the main reasons why you should get a trust, or when you should get an estate plan. Whenever you have a major life event, okay, this is when you should get an estate plan. So what are those major life events? The main ones are when you become a homeowner. Okay, so having a home in the American culture is like, that's the American dream, okay? You are focused on trying to buy a house. When you buy your house, you should protect it from going to probate court, and for the people that you want to have it to be able to get it without having to go through that hassle. So what does that mean? When you buy a house, you are on the deed. Either you're single and you have only your name on it, or you're married, you have you and your spouse on it. But what happens if something happens to you? What happens if you pass away? Who's going to get that house? So there are rules in the state of Michigan of the order of who's going to get the house. And if you have no documents in place, that goes through that process. Okay. And it's unfortunate in some circumstances if a spouse owns a property and the other spouse is not on the deed of that property, the surviving spouse will have to go to probate court. And there are rules in Michigan that the spouse might not be able to get the whole house. They might have to be split with the children if they have children, or there are limits on how much money the surviving spouse will get without a trust, and then the rest of it split between the children or other family members. You do not want that to happen. And it's an easy problem to be solved using estate planning, and it will completely eradicate that problem. A lot of people try to take shortcuts and not get the proper guidance. So for example, if you're single and you want to make sure that your brother or your sister or somebody else gets your house should something happen to you, some people try to take shortcuts and they add somebody onto the deed. That's not the right way to do it. There's multiple reasons why you don't do it. So let's say, for example, I have a single individual. They bought a house for $100,000, for example, and they want to take this shortcut and they add their sibling onto the deed as well. The sibling owns half of that house. And if you do it the wrong way, if that sibling passes away, their half will have to go to probate court, and their spouse might get it, their children might get it, somebody that you don't want or might not want to get it will end up getting that portion. Or if you do it a different way, if you pass away, your sibling might get all of the property. That's fine. That might work out. But the problem with that too is if you put them on the house when it's worth $100,000 and then the house is worth $200,000 or $300,000 when you pass away, that sibling is going to have to pay taxes on the amount that it went up, and the amount in taxes that they're going to have to pay is going to be way more money than what they would have paid if they would have acquired the house the right way using estate planning. So for homeowners, that's the main reason of why you need an estate plan. You want to make sure the right people get it at the right time without having to pay taxes or minimizing the amount of taxes that they're going to pay. That's one reason why you need an estate plan as a homeowner. The next set is for parents. You have kids. You will do anything. I know parents will do anything for their children while they're alive. You will make sure that your kids get the best education, that they have shelter, that they have food. You are taking care of them. You want the best for your kids. Who's going to take care of your kids if you pass away? If you don't have a plan in place, the court is going to make a plan for you. And then anybody can go to court and petition the court to take care of your kids. So, for example, if you pass away, I can be one of the people that petitions the court to take care of your kids, even though I have no relationship to you whatsoever. I probably won't win, but if I make a good enough case, I could probably have a chance to convince the judge to make me a guardian or, put myself in whatever role for your children. The likelihood of that's an extreme example. I'm just letting you know that this is a scenario that can happen. You do not want somebody that looks good on paper, a brother, a sister, a parent that looks good on paper, go in and convince the judge that they should be the guardian or that they should be the conservator. So a conservator is the person that takes care of the money part of it. The guardian is the person that takes care of the children. So you don't want this person to go in and take advantage of the situation that they look good on paper to go in, petition the judge. The judge has no clue what's going on. Anybody can look good for 5 minutes, right? and then they will take that role, when all you have to do is create the documents necessary to name the people that you want. And you can also name backups. So you can say, I would like person A to be the first guardian, and if they're not alive or they can't do it, then I want person B to be the guardian, and then person C. And so you can make a list of people in order, of people that you trust, can take care of your children, who know your children well, and they will be able to go into court and tell the judge, look, they've already named me as the guardian, so we don't have to go through this process. We're good to go. I should be the guardian of these children. The next time that people need an estate plan would be when they get married. A lot of people postpone getting an estate plan because they don't have assets. They wait until they're older, and it becomes a reality because they start seeing other family members, other friends starting to have health issues or pass away, and then it dawns on them that they need to get something done. I tell people to get it done when you get married, because there's someone that is relying on you, your income, your presence being there for them. You might not have bought a house together yet, or you might be in the process of buying a house, or you might have bought a house already. So you already have a house, you're married, get your estate plan done at that time. Now you can have somebody named to take care of you if something happens to you but you haven't passed away. In Michigan, it is not a default that the spouse will be able to have a power of attorney over you to take care of you financially and medically. We've all come across this where, for me, I try to call a company, it's under my wife's name. They will not talk to me unless my wife is there with me and gives them permission to talk to me. However, if you have a power of attorney, you can have access to make those decisions and be able to take care of each other when something happens. And now you can make financial decisions, you can make medical decisions. If you need to sell the house, you can sell the house. You can refinance if you need to, because you have all of these powers that are available to you that, one, if you go to court and try to get these powers, they might not give it to you. Two, they might give the powers to someone else. There's a possibility of that happening. And then three, it's like, if you wait until the person needs these powers, they might not be able to sign off on the documents to give you those powers. You're going to have to go to probate court and convince the judge that you should be the one taking care of your own spouse. So for me, it's not a fun thing to do. It's not cheap, but it is a cost-effective way to have kind of like an insurance for taking care of you and your family if something happens, and you can address it later on and make updates to it as needed, but you would have the core documents set up. And this is especially true for business owners. You own a business and you got married, who's going to run your business? Who's going to take care of all the financials for the business? Who's going to wrap it up? Who's going to work there? Who's going to do all that stuff? People don't think about these things when they're younger, but you need to talk about it. You need to do that stuff. And then the next reason why you would need an estate plan is when you have some assets, right? If you have some money, then you need to have a plan in place to be able to preserve those assets for you and your family. And what does that mean? Everybody always thinks of estate planning for when they pass away, but there are a lot of benefits that you don't think about when you are still alive. If you need 24-hour skilled nursing care in the state of Michigan, as a single individual, you can only have $2,000 in your accounts to be able to qualify for Medicaid. As a married couple, you can only have $3,000 in your accounts to be able to qualify for Medicaid. So what does that mean? If you have a 401k, if you have investments, if you have a bank account, and it's over $2,000 or $3,000, you will have to spend all of that money on your health care, and then the government will allow you to get Medicaid. But if you do a complete plan the right way, you can preserve 70% or more of your assets and still qualify for Medicaid. So what does that mean? Let's say you only have $100,000. You would be able to save $70,000 or more for you and your family and still get the health care that you need. That by itself is worth the cost of having an estate plan. You pay for it one time, you have a core set of documents. You might need some amendments later on to make some changes, but you are preventing that problem from happening, and you've worked so hard to get that money. It goes by so fast. In Michigan right now, it's about $10,000 a month on healthcare. You have $100,000, that's going to last you 10 months. 10 months you will be out of money. You have to deplete your 401k, your bank accounts, all of your assets until you only have $2,000 or $3,000. Or you can have an estate plan with this protection in place to save that money for you. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You don't want to think about it when you first get married. I understand that. But if you build it in to your wedding costs, your home purchasing cost, your your daily stuff that you're doing, and you plan it ahead, then I feel, knowing what I know now, that you get married, you should start working on your estate plan. That you have a house, start working on your estate plan. You have a kid, start working on your estate plan. Like, these are the main things that you should do. And once you have the estate plan in place, then you're good. You're covered. And then you can work on it, as needed. If you buy another house, or you acquire a business, or, whatever comes your way, you can add it to the estate plan that you've already created. And then, so I get people that talk to me. So I have the next question is, should I do it myself? I do not recommend doing it yourself. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, you have not been educated on which documents you need. You don't know which documents provide which benefits. And like I was talking about in the previous thing about saving the 70% or more, you need to have specific documents with specific wording in there to be able to preserve the money. So now you're taking a chance trying to do it on your own that you're going to miss out on that benefit. And also you're going to miss out on possibly having the right things in place. So let me give you a couple of examples of what people have done, and then you can understand why I'm against doing this. I had a client that came to me, and he just wanted me to review his documents. Okay. So he created his own documents. He had a trust, he had a will, and he had some powers of attorney documents, whatever. And so he thought that he was doing it the right way. But two things, or I'll go through the problems that he had. The trust and the will said different things. That's going to be an issue, because people don't know what they have to do with those documents to get them to be effective. And so with a trust, remember how I told you it was a pot? You could put stuff in, you could take stuff out of it. This man owned multiple houses. And in order for the trust to be effective, he has to put the house in the trust. He did not do that. And so that trust is not going to work on those houses. And then it's going to go to probate court. Now you have different people named on that document. It's going to cause problems. Each person is going to hire an attorney. They are going to drag it out. If you're going to acquire $1 million, you are going to drag it out to try to get the $1 million. So I notified him of that. The other thing too is, what I was saying is, you have to put stuff in your trust. With me as an attorney, I help you put the stuff in the trust. With your houses and your businesses, I put those in the trust for you. And I don't just do it on my own. I use a title company to do the house stuff for you. And the reason that I do that is because they provide the extra level of service for you to catch stuff that might not have been done properly before you came to me. For example, some people have their names wrong on their deed. Okay, how are you going to acquire that house if the name is spelled wrong? You're going to have to jump through hoops to be able to prove that you're that person. We can correct that for you going through this process. In another one, this man, we found out that he didn't pay his taxes on one of his houses. And he swore, he's like, I always pay my taxes. There's something wrong. Well, after we looked into it, he found out that he missed one of his payments. And so having that extra layer of a set of eyes that actually works in this field to be able to do that for you gives you way more value for what you're paying than what you're actually seeing in getting these documents created. So doing it yourself, you're going to probably do the wrong documents. You're probably not going to put the documents or your assets into the pot properly. And you're probably not going to have the right language in those documents to give you all of the benefits that you need and you deserve to preserve all of your hard-earned assets that you've acquired, and taking care of your family and your children in the proper way so that predators won't be able to get their money. They won't be able to waste their money themselves. Creditors won't be able to get their money, and they'll be able to save on taxes. All of those benefits of hiring an attorney like myself to help you in this process, the value, you cannot put the value on that. Like I was saying with the deeds, a lot of people ask me to take shortcuts, or they try to take shortcuts on deeds for properties. So like I said, the American dream for most people is to get a house. I understand that a lot of people, their main goal is to get a house, and so you want to protect that house. People take shortcuts based on what is available to them as an option without knowing all of the options that are available to them. So what does that mean? You might buy a house and you go to your mortgage loan officer and you say, hey, I want to buy a house. What can I afford? How can I buy it? And they will tell you, you know what? You should buy the house by yourself under your name because your spouse has bad credit or has a high loan to debt to income ratio or whatever the reason is. But they're trying to help you get the house, okay? And so you might buy the house under one spouse's name only, and now there's an issue with what happens if you pass away. So you go back to that loan officer and you say, hey, what can I do? Now we've already bought the house. What happens if I pass away? And so the loan officer might not be educated in estate planning, and they look into it and they say, oh, well, we can just add you onto the deed. And so, yeah, that takes care of, or might take care of, if one of the spouses pass away. But what happens if both of the spouses pass away? Then what? Your family's going to have to go to court. So it's because of the lack of knowledge down the chain of, for example, I bring up the deed stuff because I've seen that a lot going through the process of protecting people's houses for them, that there's issues in that area. And so that's why I kind of bring these up, because I've gone through it so many times. But the client, the person that is going through the process, you're not educated in estate planning. You're just trying to do what you think is best for your family without knowing all the options that are available to you. And same thing with the loan officer. They're not educated in estate planning, but they have this quick fix that might be available to you that they know of that works for the one specific set of questions that you ask them, which is, if I pass away, what is my spouse going to do? I highly advise using my services for protecting your family the right way, because it could be a layered protection for, now both spouses pass away, who's going to get the house? And then if that person or people pass away, then who gets the house? And so you can layer it in so that your grandchildren, God forbid everybody passes away, you have one grandchild left, that person would be able to inherit all of your assets because you did it the right way. All right, so another question that I get is, what is probate court? So probate court is the court that provides who's going to take care of you when you cannot do it yourself? Or who's going to take care of your children when you cannot do it yourself? Or who's going to get your estate when you pass away? And so the process takes months to at least a year now. That's what's happening in the Michigan court system. It's costly. You're going to have to hire an attorney. You're going to have to, pay court fees. And your family does not want to have to do that at a time when they're grieving, or if you're still alive and you need some attention being taken for you, your family has to go to probate court to get the permission to take care of you. And so when you have these documents, then you can provide all of this headache, because it's not going to be a headache for you. It's going to be a headache for your family. And you, as an individual caring for your family, caring for your spouse, your kids, you don't want them to have to go through that. They're already losing you. They don't want to go through that. Okay. And so a lot of people ask me, how much are my services and all that stuff. So what I do is I give everybody a free consultation. I'll tell you all of the steps of what we will do, what you're going to be preventing, and what you're going to be getting as a benefit of using my services, creating a complete plan for you and your family. And, I tell you what you need. And a lot of people appreciate that, because you're not educated, not because we didn't have an opportunity to learn it. We don't have the opportunity to learn about this stuff in school. They don't even offer it, right? So it's not like they tried to teach you in 10th grade about estate planning and you didn't listen. They don't offer it. So it's not your fault that you don't understand what's going on. So what I like to do is I like to give you all of your options, educate you, let you make an informed decision. Okay. When you come to me, I ask you, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to achieve with the estate plan? And then I give you options of, okay, I always recommend a complete plan. These are the benefits of having a complete plan. This is how much it will cost. But if you're only concerned about this one thing, we can probably help you with that with just creating one document. Maybe you might just need a will. Maybe you might need a deed for your property. And so I'll tell you all the options in a free consultation, and you can determine and make an informed decision on what you need. I give people my cell phone number. You can text me, call me, email me. I don't charge for that stuff. I only charge for the documents that I create for you. And so I feel like I'm giving you the value that you deserve, because a lot of people will sit down with me for that hour, and then maybe next week you come up with another question. What about if this thing happens? Or, hey, I forgot about this thing that I own. Is that included? Or how does it work with this situation? I'll answer your questions for free. I don't charge for that. So I make it as easy as possible for you to at least understand what you need, and then you can come call me or figure out what you want to do, right? This is what I dislike. You making the decision without knowing. Because you making the decision without knowing will cost you a lot more than figuring out what you need, because the only barrier between that is your time. So 1 hour, give me 1 hour, and you can ask me whatever questions, and I will educate you so that you know whether you want to make that decision or not. I do not force people. I do not do any pressure sales or anything like that. I literally just say, this is what you need. This is what I recommend. This is the pros and cons of having this versus, something else. And then you can make that decision. And then whenever you're ready, you can let me know. Last question that I have, or it's actually something that's more of a pet peeve for me, and kind of goes on with this, sentiment about people not knowing and making the decisions for themselves. A lot of people tell me, but Joe, I don't have anything. That's not true. You are alive. You have something. You have your life. And if you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have kids, these people rely on you. Your parents rely on you. Your siblings rely on you. And so you being alive is what you have. Who's going to take care of you if you are alive but cannot take care of yourself? What if you get hit by a car and you need medical treatment? Who's going to take care of you? Don't you want to choose who's going to make the decisions for you? Who's going to be able to pay your bills? Buy a house, sell a house, make medical decisions for you. If you don't do that now and something happens to you, you can jeopardize who's going to be able to take care of you, because now they have to go to court and figure that out. So now when you say I don't have anything today, maybe you might not have something, but in a few years, you might have accumulated some money in your 401k, even if it's only $20,000 or $30,000, whatever it is. If you don't have the right documents in place before, when you go to probate court, they will not give the people taking care of you the same abilities to take care of you properly. So even though they might have gotten the right person, maybe they happened to pick the right person that you wanted to take care of you, they will not give them the permissions to take care of you as well as you can give the permissions yourself. So when people say they don't have anything, I don't like that answer. I would like to at least discuss it with you and make you aware of what you have and what the benefits of estate planning is for you. And then that way you can make an informed decision on what you need. What you're trying to say is, maybe I don't have all of the stuff that I can benefit from using estate planning, and I only need 1 or 2 documents instead of all of the documents for a complete estate plan. But you won't know unless you have the informed knowledge of making that decision. So that's all the questions that I have for today. If you have any questions, you can always call or text me. My phone number is 248-914-8146, or you can email me at joe@dalloestateplanning.com. Thank you and have a great day.